So me economics, what does the me stand for? Do you guys know?
Me.
Music education. Okay. So me economics. Now, because there's an economics, you're running a business, right? You're the CEO and the CFO and the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer. You're all of it. And we talked about some of these. How much money do we need and where does the money come from? Now, you might have seen this. We accidentally, in music education, turn our me economics from music education into literally me. And we tell them they have a fee that they have to pay or a fair share. And so while we want their sounds to blend, we tell them that their finances don't blend. Because they have to pay $300, and then once you pay your $300, you're paid up for the year. And so it becomes like a me economy as opposed to a we economy, because what will happen is $300 times your number of children, depending on your value system and how big your band is, may or may not be enough money for your program. So what do you do if the me number isn't enough for the vision of your program? So then you don't want to have a me mindset as far as fundraising, where I fundraise my portion and I'm done, I'm out, I fundraise my portion. You want to have a we, W-E mindset when it comes to fundraising, because we are fundraising for the future of our program. And a critical question to think about, I'm going to come back to that one. I'll come back. And this is kind of small. Oh yeah, here it is. Which comes first? The vision for your program or the funding. So what I mean by that is, does your vision determine the budget that Dr. McCutcheon was talking about budgets earlier? Or does the budget determine how far your vision and your program will go? And when you arrive there, it's probably going to be the bottom one. Your budget will probably determine your vision. But as you stay there, you can flip that and have your vision determine the budget for your band program and for your music program. We kind of went through this with need. One of the things I like to share, and I'm glad I have the slides because I forgot this, be prepared to not reach your budget goal and have backup plans for what happens if we only bring in 25% of our budget goal. Do you know what this will do? It will give you more sleep. Because if you already know that there's a chance that you might only bring in 25% of your budget, when that happens, you won't panic. It could happen. So be prepared. Now, what do we do if only 50% of the budget comes in or 75% of the budget? A home run is what we're looking for, that what we envisioned is what came in. And then you might also go beyond. And what do we do? What is our plan for excess revenue throughout the year? Do we have a purchase that is on our wish list? Or are we going to roll that into getting ready for the next year, which might be the case? Think through how you're going to adjust so that you're not caught off guard. Another tip I wish somebody had told me is that kids are going to choose another elective. And that is okay. And you had that window with them, which was your season with them. And vice versa. They had a season to influence you as well. But that makes room for another student for you to impact and for another student to impact you. But it can be hard. But just know that some will. Everybody say some will.
Some will.
Say some won't.
Some won't.
This one sounds tough. Who cares?
Who cares?
And who's next?
Who's next?
Meaning, who's going to take that spot next that I can have it? Maybe the who cares is a little harsh. Maybe we take that out with working with children. But some will, some won't. Who's next? You know, nobody taught me that until I got out of teaching band. We talked about attitude. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, guess what? You're right. You know, you probably heard that quote before. but I mentioned this, the best results from fundraising efforts do happen when the CEO or the director is involved. This video is Heather Lundahl, who teaches at Sickles High School here in town. Do you guys know Sickles? They brought in 66,000 this year with our program. What Heather says here, and I'll just kind of give you the highlight, which is better for time anyway. She is addressing the students, and by the way, I'll give you the link for this so you can watch these and go through this later. She's telling the students that Hillsborough County doesn't give them the total amount they need for the program, and they charge around $300 to be in the Sickles band, between $300 and $400. That's a fee or fair share, but they really should be charging $800 based on their budget. Does that make sense? So they don't want to charge $800. They charge $300. So guess where the gap is filled? Through what? Through fundraising. And she addresses this just like she's addressing the importance of MPA. The same intensity that she brings to you better come to the, you better show up for MPA is the same talk and tone and timbre that Heather Lundahl is using regarding fundraising participation. And her and Keith Griffiths, they work together at Sickles. They are double what my next group does in fundraising results. So my next best group does around 30,000, but Sickles does 66,000. But they present it that we're only charging you half of what we should be. Other programs are charging $800 or $1,200. We are not. We're at $300. But everyone that can hear my voice right now will participate in fundraising. And like, zip it. And it takes some courage to say that to the room of parents, because they would rather just write the check for the next $300. But, and don't die on that battle. If a parent wants to write you a check for the whole $800, don't die on that battle. Do you know what I mean by that? Say thank you. And deposit that quickly into your account. But that's not everybody. A child, in most cases, can fundraise more than mom and dad would write the check for. Because if the child asks enough people to give $15 or $20 or $30, 10 people giving $30 is the same as mom and dad writing a check for $300. But the beautiful thing about 10 people giving $30 is that mom and dad are out of pocket what? $0. And really, mom and dad probably paid that first $300. So mom and dad shouldn't have to pay the second $300. Uncle Charlie and Uncle George and the pastor and the hairdresser and the auto insurance agent can pay the other, right? But that comes into asking. So that's basically the summary of Heather, and I was there doing the kickoff for their fundraiser in the fall. So this is the details slide. The greatest things are done by a series of small things brought together. You decide who decides. Earlier, I talked about that as you become more into adulthood, you'll have the ability to make more and more decisions about who you're friends with, who you spend time with, where you go, and how you spend your time. But related to fundraising, do the students decide if we need to do a fundraiser? Do the parents decide? I had a teacher that said to me, well, I think I'm going to switch from the online platform to candy bars. So everything online, touching nothing, to $1 candy bars. We have to touch everything. And coins. And she raised like $4,000 a year before on the platform. And I said, well, why are we switching to candy bars? She said, that's what the kids want to do. I said, why are we asking children the best practices for fundraising? She's like, well, I don't know. I thought I would ask them what they wanted to do. And I said, you'll have to sell 8,000 candy bars to raise the same amount that you raised last year. You're going to touch 8,000 pieces of paper that you didn't touch last year. She's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And then she ended up even raising more. She didn't do the candy bars, and she did the platform again. And She raised more, because I was trying to save her time. We talked about when do we start, as early as the principal will allow, and the best fundraising results are starting the first 9 weeks and also in the third 9 weeks. Oh, start before the first hurricane. This past season, Sickles had a hurricane at the beginning and at the end of their fundraiser, because they were within 14 days this past fall, do you remember? Right through here, actually. Alonzo High School, also, that's Mrs. Griffiths, they started on the same day. Hurricane at the beginning and end of the fundraiser. That's so hard. And if your community is devastated by a hurricane, you're canceling all the fundraisers. Right? You're canceling all of them because you're squeezing something out of a washcloth and there's nothing left, right? So certainly mid-July, we probably haven't had a hurricane yet. In most cases, would you agree? Most cases we haven't had a hurricane. Labor Day, we might have, but if you could be before that pre-hurricane, I put that in there this semester, that before the first hurricane. And if we lived somewhere else, it might be before the first something else, but here it's hurricanes. What's trending in fundraising? Well, I think this will always be trending, having a clear, well-defined goal. Hopefully I really drove that home. Online, peer-to-peer fundraising, online crowdfunding. For the products, I showed you the Yankee Candle. Almost every product is shipped to home now. So the products, you'll never have to see a fundraising product. Always just do ship to home. And that way it goes straight to the donor's house. The ones that are shipped to school are frozen products. I recommend you pretend they don't exist. The cheesecake fundraisers and the cookie dough fundraisers, just pretend they don't exist because they are shipped to school. And if that truck breaks down with all of your frozen cheesecakes, you have to tell everybody the truck's not coming and they're all there in the parking lot. Like, you can do it, but just be prepared for the options. And then donation fundraising is really taken off, where the donor doesn't get a product, they just give, like kind of the car wash, although they would get a car wash, I guess. But should you hire a fundraising company? Well, how much time will the admin or the administration of the fundraiser take from the other fires that you need to put out? Like, if I can take fundraising off your plate, or a fundraising company can take fundraising off your plate, you might pay for that service, a portion of your fundraiser, but you'll have all of your time back. So that's that trade, right? And what I've also learned, if a parent can do it for free, unless your parent is a fundraising consultant, but if a parent says, well, let's just make a PayPal button that's free, free doesn't mean you'll raise more. If you raise $10,000 with a fundraising company that takes a portion, and $2,000 that was free, would you rather have $8,000 where you paid a portion, or $2,000 you did for free? Which is more money? Which is depositing more money? Does that make sense? Because you don't deposit a percentage at the bank. You don't tell the bank, I am depositing a percentage. You tell them, I'm depositing this much what? Money. Okay. And if you want to think about, the most important percentage is not what you pay for the fundraiser, it is what percentage of the students participate in the fundraiser. So student participation in the fundraiser is more important than how much you pay for the fundraiser. Successful fundraising happens because of a process, not the price or the product. So these slides also help me to stay on task. So a process. So the process is not hand out the catalog to everybody and good luck. That is what 9 out of 10 companies would tell you to do. We'll send you the information and pass it out. Well, if you want to take your fundraising to the next level, 2 days before you pass this stuff out, 2 days before you pass it out, you would do a step called the pre-fundraiser lesson plan. So there'd be a pre-fundraiser lesson plan where you would ask the students to write down the name of every adult that likes them or is supposed to like them. So a pre-fundraiser lesson plan. In fact, this could be something that has to do nothing with fundraising. You could start building a followers list. Followers are kind of a trendy word, like with social media, TikTok and Instagram, that you have followers. We're going to be making a followers of the Sugar Bear Band or the Central High School Band. We're going to be making a list of people that are going to follow our band. So students, I need you to turn in a list of your aunts and uncles and your followers and their name and their email. We're going to load them to our, follow the band platform. In this way, you have uncles and aunts' names and email addresses and phone numbers. That way they can have all that available for them for your texting campaign or for your email-based campaign.
So this explains why I get like 10 emails a day from different high school fundraising things.
That's right.
From people I don't even know.
Sickles High School Band turned in 5,000 emails for their fundraiser. And so a group that I work with, every 500 emails turns into $10,000 raised. Every 500 emails becomes $10,000 raised. So the car wash, if we sent the car wash page out to 500 donors, that car wash page would bring in 10 grand. That's been my data. I've done a presentation in a paper on, my job is not to find Yankee Candle and to find candy bars and to find a better fundraising product. My job is to make asking easier for students. Dr. McCutcheon said that the students didn't participate is because they didn't ask people. So it's not a fundraising problem, it's an asking problem. And so what I'm trying to help a teacher solve is by making asking easier, making the process easy for the students to ask. Because if they don't ask, no money is raised. And so solving the asking problem